Alright, I'm going to show you how I do the copy and paste. First, we want to do the marching ants. So you pick the quick selection tool. That's represented by a magic wand with sparkles around it. You want to make sure that you select that tool. A gray box should be surrounding it when it's selected. As you can see, as I move my mouse around, it becomes a circle with a tiny plus sign. Now, I want to enlarge that circle. In order to do that, you have to use your computer keyboard using the right bracket key on your keyboard. I'm pushing that now, and you can see that it's getting bigger. The left bracket key on your keyboard will make the circle smaller. I want it about this size here. Now, using my mouse, I use the left click button to start the marching ants. Now you can kind of see the marching ants on Sydney's forehead. I then will go back in there and start to drag the marching ants over the photo, like you see me doing here, into her tail. And you'll notice that I got too much of the sidewalk right in this area. I have too much of the rocks right underneath her ear, and I didn't get all of this ear, nor did I get all of that one. So what I do is I will make my circle a little bit smaller by using the left bracket key. You can see how that's getting smaller. And I can add that ear there and start dragging it to this ear. Now again, you'll see that there's too much of the rocks in this area, and I didn't get all of her fur over here, so I'll try to drag that out to the edge of her fur. Oh, that's a little bit too much. Now when you get a little bit too much, you have to use the Alt key, A-L-T. Press down on the Alt key, and I'll bring it into this area here. And if you'll watch, that plus sign will turn to a negative sign. I'm pressing the Alt key now, and there it just turned to the negative sign. That way you can start on the outside here, dragging it back into the picture. And that's kind of got back to her back. And again, you can kind of click in this area of the sidewalk. Just one left click is enough. I used the left click button to drag this back to her ear. So that's a little bit too much. So now I want to add that ear back in. So I let go of the Alt key. It becomes a plus sign. And I can maybe fine tune that just a little. That's just about right. I want to get rid of this. So again, if you watch that little circle, using the Alt key, it will turn it to negative. Starting on the outside, I will drag that up towards her fur and underneath her ear, like that. And that looks pretty good. Now, I always like to check my work. So I will use the magnifying glass tool, which is up in the upper left corner. The gray box lets you know that you're using that tool. You come back to the photo, use your left click button to make it a little bit larger. You can scroll up and down over here on the side like I'm doing. And if you'll look, you can see that it got a little bit of the rock there by her ear. I'm not really too concerned about that. If we scroll it down, we see that it got her body and her tail, but maybe just a little bit of the sidewalk there. So I can go back to my tool and make it smaller by using the left bracket key, and we can drag those marching I have to use the Alt key to make it negative. Sorry. So we could drag it back in to her fur, and then up in that one ear, you use the Alt key again to make the circle negative, and we can kind of drag this a little. That's a little bit too much, I think. No, that looks pretty good. That's right on her ear there. So all in all, I'm pretty pleased with that. So it's pretty easy. You can see the marching ants. Now, in order to bring it back to normal, you then have to go back to the magnifying glass, and down in this area, you will see the option to fit screen. Left click that option. Now, go back to the quick selection tool. The grayed out box will let you know that that's the tool you're using. Now, anywhere on your subject, if you use the right click button of your mouse, it brings up this option box. I always choose this option, layer via cut. So I'm doing that now, and you'll see that it put another photo right over here, another layer. What I do is I keep the first layer highlighted in blue, but then I use the eyeball icon on the second layer like that, and it makes the background disappear. The next thing I do is I come up to the select button way up at the top, and I select all. So once that's all selected, you'll see marching ants all throughout that photo. I then come up to edit and use copy option, which I done right there. I go back to the background I want to put Sydney in. I want to use this Valentine looking background. So because I'm on this picture, I know I have to go back to the move tool, which is represented by this cross and arrow. And then go back up to edit, and you can see that paste is highlighted in black. So I say paste. Now right now, the picture of Sydney is very, very large, and you can just see part of her ear right in this area. The edge of the photo is at the top left corner of the Valentine picture. And if you'll watch my mouse, it will become a double arrow as I hit that bounding box, is what it's called. Once it's a double arrow, you must use your left click button on your mouse, keep holding it down to drag the photo to about this position. You want to be able to still see the box. Now, since you're using the move tool, you can then click down below the bounding box area and move it back up. And you can see her ear is now starting to show in the photo. The bounding box corner is right there. My arrow turned to a double arrow. I then left click on that bounding box and drag it down again. So now what this does is it's starting to make the photograph smaller so that you can place it in on top of this background. So I'm just going to keep doing this until I get a size that I think might be about right. Somewhere around there. Now I can just move her entire picture right about here, maybe over to the edge like that. And that looks pretty good. So I will then use the green check box and set that photo in there. And that's it. Copy and paste. Hope you enjoyed it.